Welcome to the RotoWire DFS show. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Jordan Cooper and Jack Burkart. What's going on, guys? I think Jack is having some connection difficulties as we just start this up, but we'll start with Jordan. Jordan,
long time no see.
I know that sounds. We've seen you like 3 times in 2024. We have prices up so we can actually talk about the slate. So finally, Jordan, how's it going? Happy 2024.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on with DraftKings? Like, just like, oh, we're gonna have a Saturday slate. I mean, there've been some Saturday slates where not only the salaries would not go up until like 3-4 o'clock on Fridays, and then like they wouldn't even put up like the cash contest. And it's like next thing you know, it's like 8 o'clock at night, and it's like there's no double ups. Like, what is going on here? But that's the main reason why I haven't been on the show, because if we're not going to record at like 1 o'clock Eastern, like the rest of my Fridays are typically, I'm spending time with my wife or doing other things. So that's the reason why I'm not here. But
lame.
It's a Sunday slate. We'll have all 10 games. It's the last of the season, and we got all the prices. I mean, the 2.5 days early or something. So I guess that's a plus.
Yeah, we can actually have a show at a regular time, though. Again, maybe we don't have to talk about cash contests because none of the contests are up. Maybe they won't even post cash contests. But Jack, you told me it was a 3-page article. I don't know. Does that mean 2,000 words, 3,000 words? Your article is going to be up later today for this slate. How many words is it? Do you know offhand?
Oh, I think it was around 2,000. I just kept on typing and typing and typing. And yeah, I don't know. At some points, I got disgusted with myself combing through the options in the Burnley, Nottingham Forest games. Probably better to stick with the with the better spots overall. But even some of these smaller teams have some interesting one-offs who are at least worth considering if you want to really embrace your watermelon brain. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really fun slate. Super high variance. You can kind of lean into a couple lower owned pieces that you like, and I don't know, if they hit, you have a good shot of winning. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty unique.
Can I ask something? I never heard that term. What the hell is watermelon brain?
Oh, just like your brain's like too big. It's just like
so that's been my
brain.
problem. I'm too brainy. That's why like I get too brainy and then I lose.
Is the watermelon horizontal or vertical?
Yeah.
Whatever's funnier. I think horizontal is kind of funnier.
All right, let's get into this slate. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour trial. And guess what? We have less than 48 hours before this slate. So while you're watching, I don't know, just sign up for a trial, check it out, see what we have to offer. We got this cheat sheet of all the 10 matches up. And this is, look at these odds here. So looking at the odds, this is, we have a bunch of other content as well. Check out our YouTube page, RotoWire Soccer. Make sure to like this video. Check out everything at rotowire.com/soccer as well. But I did a video earlier in this week just talking about this 10-game slate, how you can't really have good preparation for this because there's no other slates like this throughout the season. We're always dealing with, 6 teams or 6 games max in the prior contests. But even when you look at this 10-gamer compared to prior seasons, we've never had these implied goal totals this high because this is a historic Premier League scoring season. So we have Manchester City 2.88 implied goal total, Liverpool 2.78, Arsenal 2.58, Tottenham 2.56, Chelsea 2.44. I think all of these numbers have steadily kind of gone up throughout the week here. And then we still have all these other teams kind of sitting around the implied goal total of 2 range. And then the lowest implied goal total between both teams is 3.29, which there's been many classic slates this season where the highest implied goal total of even a 3-4 gamer was not above 3.29. So goals expected in all of these games. We're going to try and hit up cash games a little bit and then talk about some watermelon brain GPP lineups a little further down the line here. But Jordan, you've done this more.
Jack could do the horizontal watermelon. I'll be the vertical one.
Okay, we'll see what difference that makes. Okay, so let's start and forward. Jordan, you've done this more times than us. So what's the best way to attack this 10-game slate where it seems like basically every player is in range to play here?
Okay, I think cash contests versus GPPs are dramatically different. And there's a lot of edge on this slate, especially in the large field GPPs, because I don't think people play these slates properly because they get so used to the what we see. Like you said, when if I saw a 3.29 total for a game on a 4-game Saturday slate, it'd be like, okay, that's the game to stack, and that's like the lowest total game. So I think GPPs are actually probably easier than cash. Because cash, you're just going to be uncomfortable because you're going to be not playing a guy that could kill you. The totals are high enough, and we've seen this in past years. People always look at like, well, what is the team? What do they have to play for? Right? It's like, okay, Man City and Arsenal, obviously something to play for. Not many teams have something to play for. I mean, I think Luton needs to score like 11 goals in order to stay up or something. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. Man United can't, their goal difference makes it so they can't move up. Like almost none of these games really mean any. I mean, like everything's kind of decided, other than the very top, and maybe like Tottenham, Chelsea, like depending on if someone wins or loses and goal difference. But what ends up people think in terms of like, oh, these teams don't care. It's like teams not caring. Everyone thinks in terms of offense. It's like, oh, they don't care. They're just going to go through it. It's going to be whatever. It's like, no, the defenses don't care, right? Think of more of that of like, you see on the last game of the last week of the season, you'll see plenty of like 7-0 scores, right? 6-4. I mean, like just the lack of defense. And a lot of times one team just kind of gives up halfway through the game. So I think it's way more important to stack in GPPs where you just like take a shot and say, I'm going to play Man City and play 4 guys from Man City. I'm going to play Liverpool. I'm going to, whoever it is, even if it's a lower total team or whatever, but just like someone's going to just roll. You're going to see a lot of rollovers. And the way that I'm going to build my GPP lineups are essentially very similar to how I would do like baseball, like MLB. Like I'll take 4 guys from one team and 4 guys from another team, different game or something, and go, yep, I'm gonna roll with Chelsea plus Arsenal. I'm gonna roll with like Brighton plus Palace or so, something like that. Maybe you have to play like one value play from some other game or something, or a goalkeeper, a cheap goalkeeper from another game, and then just go, yeah. If I'm playing Son and Madison and Porro or whatever, like it's like, okay, I just want Tottenham to go out and Brennan Johnson just go out and just like five goals. And I'm rooting for that type of result rather than try to like there may be like 5 braces on this slate. And I'm like, I need to pick out like who that's going to be. I think that's much harder to do. That's very similar to MLB with like, I'm going to try to pick out all the home runs in all the games. Like, no, it's so much easier to just like, yeah, this team's going to score 12 runs. I have a bunch of their guys. Hopefully I have the right guys. It's probably going to go good. And then in cash games, it's kind of the opposite. I almost think that with all the high totals there are, like there's going to be like a goal, one goal is not going to be at a premium. So like if like you don't play Holland and he scores 1 goal like in the first 2 minutes, like it doesn't matter, right? Like it's not like the guys that you're playing probably can't score 15 points, but like you could play those guys. So like I wouldn't necessarily prioritize like guys that don't have you have 10 games to choose from. You have 20 teams. You can prioritize floor more so than this team to play like Salah or something like why? Like, do you need to do any of that? So like I think my cash lineup is going to look a lot. It's going to have some of these people that may not be on like the I think you could play a lineup with no Man City players. I think you could play a lineup with no Arsenal players. Would I be scared to? Yeah, of course I will be. But I mean, like you can. The pricing is made out that you could kind of go down the middle more so and play guys that even if they don't score a goal, they may still score 10, 12, 15 points. That as long as none of like the top options really put up like hat tricks, I think you're able to find points and goals and assists in places that like I don't think you have to be compelled. There's so many teams that have 2+ implied goal totals. Like, dude, you could play like any of these players.
Any of these players. Yeah, there's almost
Well, any of the main ones. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's like 10 players that are all favored to score, and then Haaland is above everyone at minus 330 to score. So he's probably about even odds to score a brace. So now that's out of the way, Jack, you've already you've written your whole article here. Do you feel any better about the slate than, I don't know, 24 hours ago before you started writing it?
As usual, I feel worse about the slate after writing it because you're sort of bombarded with every single option. I was actually going to ask Jordan if I could compare this to an MLB slate because I've taken up a little bit of MLB just for fun. And it seems like you might want to look for an outlier game that could get 6 goals because this is a slate where that's likely to happen. So I think that's a really interesting strategy tidbit. I think one thing that I would just add is that if you want to push an MLB comparison, I'm usually willing to eat chalky, just good plays at pitcher in MLB because that's more predictable. And I see set piece taking defenders as that sort of way. And so there's like a lot of cheap players and other options. So I'm not worried about correlation with defenders. I want to play Trent, Robertson, Poro, Barco if he starts. Like set piece taking defenders, I think are really appealing on this slate. Region, and I'll just play them and then maybe figure out some like 2-2 type minis, maybe 3 players from one team. I think that's tactically very interesting, just hunting down for the big game. And you don't have to play bad players to stack a team, right? You can stack like 3 good players. So that's a really interesting strategy insight. When I played the slate last year, I kind of tried to play the 1-1-1-1-1, just a bunch of low owned guys with high upside, and you didn't really get to benefit from like a really high scoring Arsenal game. So I think that's an interesting tactical point. I don't know. As far as from the slate, I think it's kind of wide open, Adam. So I've been working with my, baby projection model just to sort of get a feel for everything. And Phil Foden seems like a really, really strong forward play just because he's 9,400. He should probably be priced near Haaland. Son seems like a good play, but otherwise there's a lot of cheap forwards to play and it's pretty wide open. So that's interesting. Midfielders, we have like James Maddison, who's going to be really popular at 6,900 against Sheffield, who stink and give up a lot of points. KDB at 9K, not a must because he's kind of got these weird knock issues. Maybe he only plays 75 minutes, but it's 75 minutes against West Ham. Like, I think like there's obscene like odds for Manchester City to score 5 or more goals. Like that's like 20% on Pinnacle. So just so many insane spots to go for. I don't know. It's I'm nervous, but I won 25 of these stupid tickets for the big GPP, so I'll play a few different scripts. Maybe I'll get lucky. It should be fun either way.
Yeah, speaking of, you mentioned Foden here. I guess we'll get into that. Foden, 9,400, Saka, 10.5K. Jordan, are you finding your lineups paying more for midfielders, or are you finding that you are, this is cash games here, that you are going with one of these more expensive set piece takers in at forward because you don't trust some of the cheaper forwards, I guess? You're not playing like the Wilson Odo Bear, who is 100% lock for me.
No, I'm not playing Wilson Odo Bear in cash games.
Yeah, you're gonna lose, so that's fine.
I'm not. I mean, my dummy lineup. Foden is the most expensive. I mean, Foden's in my dummy lineup. Foden is the second most expensive player in my lineup, but he's the most expensive forward in my lineup. I mean, I'd love to play Saka. Haaland is obviously 11-3, but I mean, obviously you're relying on goals, and with all these teams available, like I know it's a scary fade, but I don't see myself playing Haaland in cash at 11-3. I have cheaper defenders. Like it really depends on your second. If you're going to pay up twice at forward, like you're probably not getting someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold in your defender spot. And you're probably not getting someone like Cole Palmer in your midfield spot. So it's like, where do you want to spend? And I think while there are some cheaper midfielders that are available, I find that that's probably better in GPPs where you could if you want to play like a Haaland Saka lineup and do like the goals, the guys that could really score 2, 3, 4 goals. Like I'd rather pay up for those in GPP, but then not necessarily rely on them in cash games because I have so many other options to choose from. I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, I'm looking at guys that have floors. I'm looking at like in the forward position. I think Eze is in play. I mean, I wouldn't play probably not Anthony Gordon, but I mean, you could play. I mean, truthfully, I mean, I wouldn't do it. You could Pascal Gross, even like, but I like this like mid range. This like Sun at 7,800. Truthfully,
Now we're talking.
My dummy lineup has Brendan Johnson in cash games, and I don't think that's with all the guys that they have out at Tottenham. He's been playing like 90 minutes, and Tottenham has a very high goal total, and they're playing Sheffield on the road, but they're looking to win. I think 6,700 is a very good price for a guy that you have to think plays 90 minutes for a team that, and it's not like he's just goal dependent. He also does get peripherals. I mean, I prefer Kulichevsky as a player, but he's not forward eligible. So I'm looking more in that range. I'm not looking to really. If I'm going to go down to like the 4s, 5Ks, like I think they're a midfield. I mean, obviously Jack's going to talk about Gustavo Hammer and guys, Josh Cullen. I don't, maybe not him, but like those types of guys. Danilo, I think Danilo's down there also at 4,500. Like I find like those are the guys that maybe you play one of them in cash, like your utility spot in the place of like a $4,500 defender that you could play there. But those are like the guys that you plug in one spot so you can like pay up everywhere for like all the forwards in GPP. So my lean right now is to prioritize getting 2 quality midfielders over getting 2 quality forward, getting 1 forward with a floor like Foden, and then finding something in the like the mid range for the second forward spot.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable. I mean, it just depends. Do you want to play like Son, who's underpriced, but going to be more goal dependent in cash games? You could spend down a little bit more, though. I think Brendan Johnson would be fine, Jordan. You're just playing a cheaper forward in the best, probably one of the best game environments overall in the slate. So that's really interesting. I do agree with you that midfield, there are some punt options, right? Like in GPPs, if you want to play Gus Hammer in a couple lineups at 4,900, I don't actually think that's that bad. But you have some really heavy hitters at the midfield position. You have Bruno Fernandes, who's not going to be that popular in GPPs. I mean, but who knows? Like that game's going to have a high total. You could look to that. Moneyball played low-owned Bruno and won the king of the pitch doing that. You have James Maddison, Cole Palmer, Kevin De Bruyne. It's going to be really tough to parse through all those things. So I think the heavy hitters at midfield do seem appealing, especially because, Jordan, I think there's some cheap forwards who can score goals. Ivan Toney, we used to suffer by him being chalk when he was 10K, and now he's 5,300 in this spot. Not an elite matchup, but 5,300 for a penalty taker. Ivan Toney has an okay floor too based on shots. You can laugh at me, but Chris Wood is really cheap at 5,300 for 9 and 4s. Even goal scoring odds at 5,300. I mean, even like Ben Brereton, 5,700, getting a little bit gross. Simon Adingra, 6,300. Maybe I am talking more GPPs here, Jordan, but I kind of like mining the 6,000 to 5,000 range for forward. I think you can find a cheap goal there and then attack some really big ceiling spots at midfield. I don't want to go to war with just, one good midfielder. I think when there's so many good midfield eligible players, I feel like I do want to play 2 of them. At the same time, I don't really want to be punting at defender, but I think there's some mid-range defenders that you can play as well. I don't know. Balanced lineups seem really good. It's tough to entice me to play Erling Haaland when I can play so many guys in the 6K range. Like I could play Erling Haaland and then play, Decky and a few cheaper defenders, but I don't know who. I mean, there's so many players.
Jack, this doesn't seem like the type of slate where, I mean, we have some like 3K defender center back types that are on like heavy favorites that like on a 4-game slate would be like, okay, punting with 3K, $3,200 center back, and then, do with anything I want in the rest of the lineup. Like, dude, there's 10 games. Like, I don't want to sack. I don't want 3 points at defender. Like, I want to have 2 defenders that like have a shot at double-digit points because we have them all. They're all available to us. It's not like these slates where like there's no one to play. There's like one guy that's good and like everyone else. And I think there are people in like I think the 4K defender range is worth the extra 1,500 or whatever that instead of playing to me, the thing on the slate is like, to me, I almost don't care about goalkeeper. Like I'm playing the cheapest goalkeeper I can against from a team that I'm not playing any other players from, and like there's 6 of them. There's like 5 or 6 of them. One of them is going to score enough. I mean, like these large slates, like paying up a goalkeeper to me is nuts. Especially in cash games. I mean, they're going to be lower owned, but like I just don't want to give up like 2,000 salary for the highest variance position when we have. It's not like, oh well, what the West Ham goalkeepers, and then it's like everyone else, like a normal 4-game, 5-game slate. Like you have the pick'em goalkeepers and then like the big spread. It's like, dude, like there's like 5 of these guys. It's like, of course, Jack, you're going to pick the wrong one out of the 5 that gets -7. And I'm going to pick the one that actually gets the 1-0 win and scores 26 points. But that's the reason why I'm better than you.
It's a skill game at the end of the day. So yeah, we'll do our best. Maybe I can get a little bit lucky. I completely agree with goalkeeper. I wrote the goalkeeper article on the site, and I think, we're going to have someone, 4,400 who's going to score over 14 points. So I'll just click in that range. And if I, if I lean into 2 games pretty heavily, like, I don't know, maybe I'll just end up on Thomas Kaminsky and, Luton will beat Fulham. These are all very conceivable things. So I'm just going to embrace the volatility.
You're going to be on Kaminsky. Kaminsky's in my dummy lineup, so I have to change that.
Yeah, you might have to change that, Jordan. This is why you do the show, so you can fish this sort of information out of me. I don't know. Adam, did you want us to break down forward in a little bit more detail? We're just kind of going back and forth, yabbering about strategy because
this is the earliest we've gotten Jordan to talk about goalkeepers in a show ever. It's 20 minutes in. Jordan's analyzing goalkeepers already.
Because it's really that type of slate. Like the normal way we go through stuff is like kind of doesn't even apply. There's just so many options, and the strategies you'd have for different contests is going to be very wide.
I honestly think the best strategy for forward is pick out the midfielders you want, pick out the defenders you want, and then see where your money's at. Pick out your cheap goalkeeper kind of thing, and then see where your money's at. Because like the main forward, there's only really one forward who stands out in terms of having a majority role set pieces, or at least a split roll set pieces. That's Saka at 10.5K, but 10.5K, as you guys have both been saying, just there's so many options where you probably don't need to spend that much. And I mean, we've run through a bunch of these guys, but really there's not really any standouts at forward for we need this guy. That's kind of why we're a little bit all over the place at forward, because this high goal.
You don't even need, dude. You don't even need, if you want a dinky do. I don't even think the dinky do is that bad.
You can double dinky do,
right? Well, no, there's no such thing as a double dinky do. What are you going to leave 12,000 on the table? You have to remember that.
No, you're going to spend up on goalkeeper.
All right, now even then you have to leave money. Remember, old school RotoWire soccer podcast people. The dinky do is 2 forwards that are 6K or below. That's the dinky do. If you're spending over 6K and still playing at sub 6K, that's just the dinky. So there's the dinky and the dinky do. The double dinky do would be playing 2 6K, under 6K forwards, and then also 2 center backs, like at defender. And you don't double dinky do, because then you're going to be leaving 10K on the table. So there's no such thing as Adam, if you want to play, you love those center backs. You know this is going to be some center back brace, and you're going to get the James Tarkowski, whatever the hell type of thing going on. So you could do the dinky. Feel free to do the double dinky do and leave 10K on the table.
Ruben Diaz is staring at me right now.
Jordan, have you seen Christian Romero's goal scoring odds?
No, what is it?
Plus 350 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on that.
I would not bet on that either.
Right. But Jack, my question is more I think the more intriguing position is midfield. And how would you rank the upper options at midfield? Because my natural inclination from first looking is that I think Maddison is clearly number 1 because of price. Mm-hmm. If Maddison was 9K on this slate, I would consider playing him also. So when he's 6,900, he's the first guy in my lineup in the midfield spot. And I lean in this high end range at midfield. You got Olise at 9,700, Palmer at 9,500, Bruno at 9,200. Eze is midfield eligible. He could at 9,100. De Bruyne at 9,000. And then you got that Gross is also eligible there. Son is obviously eligible down. McNeil, like these types. But in this upper range between like Olise, Palmer, Fernandez, De Bruyne, like my natural inclination, I go Madison. Madison's one clearly from below. And I don't know. I think Cole Palmer against Bournemouth. I don't feel any knocks against. Like De Bruyne may only play 75, right? Olise is not in the highest total matchup, although I don't mind Olise. And Bruno is not in is an away matchup to Brighton. I mean, they don't have as high of a team total. So, like, to me, it's like Chelsea at least has maybe something to play for. So, give me Madison, give me Palmer. I don't know. Do you rank? Do you rank them any differently? Or secondly, are you like Madison and then just you don't even bother playing any? Like you're going even more balanced, where you're playing like Trent Alexander-Arnold instead of one of these guys and going really balanced.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a strategic decision you're gonna have to make. So I'll do like the first question. So I'll just read off my projections, Jordan. I know they're not perfect, but I have James Madison as the best value. And I think that's pretty obvious. Anyone who has a brain can kind of tell James Madison, monopoly set pieces back on 90 minutes. He's a really strong play against Sheffield United. So, I mean, I would pay 9,000 for him as well, happily, mind you. He would probably, I would still be like, man, he should be 10K or something. I think you're splitting hairs with Cole Palmer and Kevin De Bruyne, but I have Cole Palmer 0.24 points better, Jordan. So yeah, clearly the better play. But one thing I like about Cole Palmer in terms of, the role is that he takes penalties. I feel like he's more likely to get these 30-point plus games. It's not that KDB doesn't have them, but there just is a little bit of fragility with Kevin De Bruyne. There's some chance that Phil Foden takes away some set pieces. He's not the team's primary goal scorer. I mean, Cole Palmer's the everything man for Chelsea. So I think just for floor ceiling combination, I think I like him a little bit better than Cole Palmer, but Kevin De Bruyne is still pretty elite. So Jordan, I would put in that price range, those two are like the first tier options. And then I think Olise and Bruno are like tier 2 options. And then, everywhere, Saka and Eze are like tier 3 type options. Saka is just a little expensive. He's 1,000 more expensive than these guys, but he doesn't particularly stand out. Still, I mean, Saka's a really, really good play. But I agree with you. I kind of lean Palmer. But if you calm down a little bit, Jordan, like if you want to play tournaments, would you be against someone paying 6,600 for Andreas Pereira, or someone just saying, I'll play 3 defenders, I'll play Trent, Robertson, and then Reguilon, and then play Kulusevski as your second midfielder? It's really tough to poo-poo on that type of construction as well in a GPP type of setting.
And also, I mean, I'm not truthfully, who I like more than Pereira? I'd like Alfie Doughty. Like from a cash game perspective, with Luton playing at home, needing to score 11 or 12 goals.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
I feel like about Doughty, if this was a 5-match slate, Jordan, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But
his upside is like, I feel good about his floor, but he's not going to bail me out probably with a 25-point game, because Luton is probably not going to. Is not going to be probably not going to be one of the teams scoring 6 goals on this slate.
I mean, everyone he could get 25. He could get 25 points. He had 22 floor points in their last home game against Everton. Well, he's done that many times this season. I'm just saying, like, if he's pushing, he's a guy who crosses from the midfield basically, and maybe gets an assist there. And it's not impossible to see him getting 30 points if Luton have any success. But
I think I know one of Jordan's GPP lineups. He's going to play Alfie Doughty, and then he's going to play Tahith Chong, and then Elijah Adebayo, and then he'll need a center back, and then he'll play Gabriel Osho, and then he'll leave about 10,000 salary on the table.
Right, of course, the double dinky do, right? The double. No, I don't see myself having a Luton stack on this slate. I mean, but just to put things into perspective, like playing like Luton's total isn't much different from like Man United's total. Like
Sean has like some of the best value on the slate.
Who does?
Chong.
4,100. think Decky would be better just because of the game environment. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's
It's
plenty of
close.
4K guys who you could go to.
Yeah, talking about the high end midfielders again, I personally want to say like Bruno is tier 5 to me. You compared Bruno with who'd you compare Bruno with? Someone that I actually like. Bruno tier 5. He's not in my consideration at Brighton.
Oh, Jordan, maybe we can think about GPPs though. If you're I think Adam, the case for Bruno might be ownership in GPPs.
I don't
'Cause
think
he's
you worry about ownership though. Everyone's gonna have different players. Like who's gonna be
it's either like chalk or not chalk. I don't know. Like this is like I think if you go to war with if you're playing a GPP lineup and you have Cole Palmer and James Madison, I think that's gonna have like that as a combination. I think that's gonna be like fairly popular. So if you just want to play like a weird set piece monopolist, I think that's fine.
I think the key in GPPs is there's a difference in style I guess. Like the contrary, I'm talking about like a contrarian way to build. You can think in terms of one of two ways. You could think of like, oh, people are going to play Arsenal, people are going to play Man City, right? People are going to play Tottenham, and then like, well, I'm going to play 3 or 4 guys from Crystal Palace, right? Like that's that type of contrarianism. Or it could be the type of thing where like everyone's going to play Saka and I'm going to play Odegaard, right? Like you play like the lower owned part of a team that's going to be popular. Like everyone is going to play Holland and all those guys, and now I'm going to play Bruno Silva or something. You know, like that type of approach where you're still taking the team, but you're taking like the less owned. Like I'm going to play people are going to play De Bruyne and Holland together, or Foden and Holland together, and I'm going to play Rodri, Kyle Walker, and Bernardo Silva. Like that. I mean, maybe not all of them together. I don't know what you think. On a slate like this, I am much more likely, because on a 4-game slate, the opportunity cost is minimum. Like if you don't play a team, like there's only 3 other games to choose from. So it's like a lot of people play like the top 2 players from a team, and then like the secondary players are much lower owned. On this slate, I feel like because teams are much more likely to blow out other teams, that the correlation between players starts going up. Like that R squared just goes up. That like I wouldn't want to play Bernardo Silva as a one-off, right?
No.
Like on a 3-game slate, that's fine. But on this slate, it's like if Bernardo Silva has a good game, it's probably because he has 2 assists to Holland, and Holland has a good game. And like all these guys, like there's multiple guys that have good games, that I'm less likely to do that approach. And that's what makes the slate scary, because like I feel as if I'm not a big fan of attacking at Aston Villa, but I mean, one of Eze or Elise plus like Mateta plus like Daniel Munoz or something like that. If Crystal Palace goes out and scores like 4 or 5 goals, it's like, who does anything for Crystal Palace other than like 2 or 3? I mean, like this, like I've seen lineups where it's like, well, you can't play Eze and Elise both at 9K, and they both go out and put up 30 points. And the rest of the team, you look at like all the other players have 2 or 3 points, and it's like, no, they just did everything. I like focus. If you're telling me that, if I'm telling myself that the strategy is to like stack, like, don't I want to attack teams that when you stack, like you're playing the guys that do everything for the team, rather than a team where like, yeah, you could stack, Brighton, but good luck figuring out who's scoring in that. I mean, like, I like Brighton, but like you see that Joe Pedro has a goal, or a Dingra has a goal. I mean, like it could be anywhere. That a team that's where Newcastle, there's another one where it could be the half their front line that could score. And that's why I don't know. I look at Crystal Palace. I think Liverpool is going to be lower owned, but I feel like that's a good luck situation also. Like, yes, Salah's going to be much lower owned than he probably should be, but then Luis Diaz scores, or Gakpo scores, or Elliott scores, or like
McAllister,
right? It's like, that's why it's like, if you want to play Liverpool, Just play 4 of them. Just like, okay, they go out and score 6 goals, and you got Of course, you can't play Man City, you can't play Arsenal, you can't play any of those teams. That's why I look at Crystal Palace and go, I feel like I could play like Munoz, Eze, Olise, and Mateta, and just like I'm done. Like and I still have salary that
Are you trying to win tournaments with that lineup?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. You need 5 goals from Crystal Palace and all those
but
guys.
I'm playing for one of these teams to score. Why not? Are you gonna play Chelsea in that way? Because in Chelsea, like, dude, half these players are gonna come out at 65. I mean, do I want to play Madueke or Nkunku or some of these? I mean, even the fullbacks are like, it feels like anyone is liable to be subbed out other than Palmer in this entire lineup. That, like, I don't want to stack a game that they have 5 or 6 viable goal scorers and half of them come out at 70 minutes. It's like, that's the worst of both worlds. At least with Crystal Palace, it's like who the hell's coming in for these? I mean, all these people, I mean, they're just going to play them all. I mean, Mateta's probably not going to come out until like 75th minute or something.
They got Edward on the bench. They got
Edward on the bench. But does Eze and Olise come off? I mean, Eze comes out maybe 85th minute or something. But I mean, I'm just making the case. It's not Palace. It's that Palace have a
concentrated attack.
Concentrated attack, and their goal total is 2.03. So, like,
are you going to be happy when Adam Wharton or Jefferson Lerma score, or Joachim Anderson gets an assist?
You could say that, dude. You're going to play Arsenal, and you're going to be happy when.
I know you could say that about everyone, but you're making the point that you can't say it about Crystal Palace. So I'm saying that you can say it about Crystal Palace.
Yeah, but it's less likely. I'm just saying the less like we've seen that the DFS production is very concentrated.
I think it makes sense to play both Eze and Olise, but throwing Mateta and Munoz in there seems like kind of a stretch because Mateta's 8,300, so it's not like you're throwing.
I mean, Munoz is 4,500, so that's why I mentioned Munoz, only because like he fits that, like you'd be playing in a defender spot or a utility spot. But
if you want to drop off Mateta,
right? Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd probably play Reguilon in a lot of lineups as it is with Munoz. But yeah, if you said instead pick between Eze, Olise, and Mateta and play 2 of them, I mean, you're getting you're getting most of Crystal Palace's production just even in 2 out of 3 of these guys. And I just with Palmer where he is, with Madison where he is, with Son where he is, with all the Man City players, with all the Arsenal players, how many people are playing Olise and Eze on this slate? I think both of them. I think Eze gets a little bit more ownership only because he's eligible at 2 positions. But this is a slate where Olise could be 6% owned. And we've seen Olise put up, like, if he scores, like, he could put up like 35 points. And Crystal Palace could only score like 3 goals.
Jordan, you're killing me here. You're absolutely killing me here because I don't need more people to be playing Michael Olise on this slate because I really do like this, play Eze in a forward and Olise in a midfielder in a midfield spot, in combination. I don't think it'll be that high owned, and I'm playing a lot in this large field GPP, and then I feel like I can play whatever game around it that I want. I think that's a fine idea.
So you're complaining, Jack, that I've come back on the show for one of the few times in 2024 because the salaries are actually out in time, and I'm going to increase the ownership and make it lower EV for you to play this.
Yeah, you're killing me right here. Well, fortunately,
I'm a man of the people. I come out with my truth. This is what I would do, and if it affects you, then so be it. Let other people play Palace also, or maybe I'm doing the meta thing of like I want Jack to play Palace so I could get lower ownership on another team. I don't do that. I didn't think you'd be down for it. I thought I'd get Adam's reaction. Adam's reaction is Palace. What the hell you want to play Palace?
I mean, Olise was in my dummy lineup, but I'm just trying to say, like, first, I just don't think having like low ownership even matters on the slate. You can easily get different in your utility, easily get different at forward. No one's going to play Odo, Bear, and Foster.
Yeah, but
for me,
for a reason. You shouldn't. There's a reason why no one's going to be doing that.
I mean, I don't know who are you.
You looked at Adam. Adam, you're telling me truthfully.
These are favored goal scorers who go almost 90 minutes every game for Burnley. They're home against Nottingham Forest, who basically already qualified last week. I don't know. Like, this is.
You looked at a 10-game slate with all the teams playing and said, you know what? Got to stack Burnley.
I'm not saying stack them.
Jordan,
Like,
my takeaway from
we
writing the
need
article.
goal scorers on the slate. The main thing is that you need goal scorers on the slate. So, like,
Yeah, so you
if
need
we're
to pick on teams, you need to pick
if
teams
we're
that score goals.
if we're getting a $4,600 goal scorer who has, I don't know, 20-point upside here, going against one of the worst back lines in the league, he's going to be sub 5% if we're going to talk about percentages. And we're just talking about playing 3 Crystal Palace guys because Aston Villa qualified for Champions League on Tuesday and they're all drunk and happy right now, or I don't know. Like, just because I don't know, I don't really agree with some of this stuff. So
if you want to, I'll allow you to play.
You can get different so many places. So
yes,
I just don't.
I'm telling you how I'm getting different by targeting a different team than other people. I'm not saying that, oh, I'm going to play Palace and then I'm also going to play like 5% owned guys in it. No, it's just like I'll see what it fits around, and like my Palace lineup will have James Maddison in it and Sergio Reguilon. And I mean, like, I'm not saying that I have to get different there, but I'd rather eat the value than eat the expense. Like to me, the cheaper the guy is that has value, like Madison, like at 6,900, could easily be the top raw point scorer on the entire slate, or Reguilon at defender could easily be the top raw point defender on the entire slate. And it's just they're at a price where if you play someone else, like they come nowhere close for that price. But like Haaland at 11.3 and Saka at 10.5 and Salah at like they have to do so much more on a slate where you have so many options. It's not just like on a normal 4-game slate. If someone scores, if one of those forwards scored 2 goals and it's like 28 points, 30 points, like you need them. There's only so many games that are being played. Here, I feel as if they could score 28 points and it's like, yeah, well, I got my 28, 30 points out of Cole Palmer. So what does it matter that much that there's going to be enough goals? And I'm using that as an example to say that your approach of playing Burnley is fine as like one player, right? But my approach is I'm going to be looking at teams. So I really don't want to be playing one attacking player for a team. I'm looking to be playing 2+ attacking players, and I just don't think Burnley is that team.
Yeah. I have many opinions. So, Jordan, do you rewind 10 minutes ago? You were talking about playing secondary guys in good spots and how you preferred stacking teams. And I wanted to affirm that I agree with that, because if you try to find secondary players in one of these top 5 spots, I don't think you're going to find anything that's particularly exciting that sparks joy on this biggest slate. Like Bernardo Silva, no. Kai Havertz, pass. Leandro Trossard, subs early. Declan Rice, I don't like his range of outcomes on this slate. And you're kind of just like combing through. I don't want to play Luis Diaz. He's being subbed. And I keep on going through these lists. Tottenham might be the first team where you have attackers who are secondary who could be quite good, because I don't know, Jordan, I don't think Brennan Johnson's going to be particularly popular in GPPs. Like, that's the first spot where it pops up. So that's where I think it's nice to say, how about I pick one of these spots and find a way to play it somewhat uniquely? So that's why I like this. Like, I don't like Mateta for micro reasons because he's 8,300, and maybe I'd rather play a cheap forward in a different game, Tony and then Reguilon is some type of combination like that, just so I can play better defenders. So I think that's my one grievance that I have against your against the Mateta thing, but like the spirit behind
yeah, but
the
it's
idea
it's the same type of thought. Like, and Todd, like I absolutely. Why can't I play Porro, Madison, Johnson, Son? I mean, I could play like, if you don't want to play pick 3 of them. Just like pick 3 of them and play all 3. So like that's really where it comes down to. I don't want to do what you said of like taking the secondary options. I want to take 2 or 3 guys from in the attack of a team, and if you want to go for Burnley, go for Burnley. They'll be cheap, right?
I'm not picking 2 guys from Burnley, but there is a one-off.
Foster and Odegaard. You just said you're going to play Foster and Odegaard.
Multiple lineups.
Oh, well, that's what you mean. Oh.
it's not unreasonable at prices. Jacob Brun-Larsen 5,800 takes set pieces and penalties, and then you have Wilson Odebear and Lyle Foster. Like if you do those two, and then you're playing Manchester City, I actually think that's not that insane of a tactic.
That's not insane for the large field. It's not as insane
for the
as
large field. Just like playing Gus Hammer and Ben Brereton, like you look at them, you're like, these guys are kind of good. Tottenham aren't exactly world beaters. You could play 3 Tottenham players there, and there's your 6-4 matchup.
Fake Tottenham fan right here.
Yeah, well, as long as they win.
In terms of the secondary players, I did a short little show on this earlier, but Ryan Belangi's strategy. Shouts to Ryan for passing on this show because he wanted to get an edge on the king of the pitch field. So shouts to him. But he played Martin Odegaard at 6,400 to win king of the pitch 2 years ago, which is basically what you guys are talking about. Secondary player who no one's really going to look at. Odegaard maybe not in that situation anymore. But that's exactly what happened there. I think he had 22 points or whatever it was, but it was just like a cheaper Odegaard, sub 5%. Ended up winning there. So we've gone a little bit all over the place here. Let's try and touch on defender a little bit because there are 5, 6, 7-ish defenders here that you can consider. And we have a 7K Alexander Arnold, which is by no means a lock on this slate just because there's so many options. Trippier, I'd say he's in play for 60, 70 minutes at 6,500. Robertson should be fine to go 6,200. Poros 5,500. Gusto 5,300. Reguilon 4,900. I think those are all of the main options. Jordan wants to talk about Munoz at 4,500.
Well, I would rather play if he starts in that range. To me, assuming that he starts. Like I look at this and I'm Reguilon.
Barco at 4,400.
Yeah, right. To me, Reguilon Barco is like the combination where you're getting set piece taking defenders and you're not breaking the bank in order to do so by playing a guy like Trent or Trippier splitting set pieces, I guess. I mean, Trent's the only guy that I would look to like pay up for. But to me, you're comparing Trent to a midfielder. Like what are you doing do you want to play 2 cheaper end midfielders, or do you want to play only 1 cheaper end midfield, or obviously 3 defenders or something like that? So I don't know, Jack. I mean, my dummy lineup is Barco, Reguilon. And also by playing Barco, Reguilon, it gives you a little bit more money at the second forward spot. That's why like Brennan Johnson at 6,700 versus one of like the $5,500 forwards. So like that's the approach I see right now. But I don't think like Lucas Digne, even though he's probably not going to play 90, would be like he's there. I mean, there's some guys that are like you could play in this general range, and there's also people even down at like 3,000 that are fullbacks that like if you really wanted to punt isn't like the worst thing in the world. But I don't think for cash games. I mean, I don't even think for any like. It's like the opportunity cost of spending $3K on a player, and it takes up a spot in your lineup. And with 20 teams playing, I don't want to have to rely on like a Virgil van Dijk goal in order to get my defender there, right? Like
not in cash,
right? Not in cash, right?
Whatever. If you have a team that you really like and you have James Maddison and you're going to play Cuti Romero in your second defender, the game environment's good enough and he actually is a target person on set pieces. I don't like it. That wouldn't be my dominant strategy, but that seems reasonable. Jordan, one thing that surprised me from what you're talking about, I have a really tough time imagining going to war without one of these Liverpool fullbacks. I think they project really well in this spot. The goal total is huge. Both are capable of scoring goals. Both have a set piece role. Wolves stink. I think it's a real smash spot for one of them. And so I really want to play TAA or Robertson in one of my lineups. I do realize that Reguilon and Barco are really good plays, so you don't necessarily have to spend that extra 2,000. But someone like TAA is so much more likely to score a goal than Reguilon, and I think that would make a huge difference at the defender position, and the game environment is right for it. So I think in cash, I'd rather play, you're talking about playing Brennan Johnson. I'd rather play $5,300 Ivan Toney, and then that gives me room for Robertson in one of those defender spots. I think a construction like that seems appealing, but I think you'll also agree that we're probably splitting hairs. It's not, that type of decision is quite close. I don't know. I lost track of my thoughts. One other thing that you mentioned, Jordan, is okay, I'll maybe play Munoz in a Crystal Palace lineup. I just don't care about correlation at the defender position when there's reasonably priced set piece taking midfielders in comparison, right? Like,
Yeah, but you
I
can
would
play
just
Munoz
still,
in a utility spot at like 400. I mean, like when I say Munoz, it doesn't have to be a defender spot. I mean, you could still be playing the high end defenders. Like it's just
sure.
compare Munoz to another $4,500 midfielder because technically, really, Munoz. I mean, they play a 3-4-3 or some.
You're
like
comparing him to a
3-4-1.
Decky one-off if you're talking about the
Right.
utility spot,
Right.
which sure,
Actually,
you're correlating.
Can we throw Odo Bear in that conversation?
Yeah, you're comparing him to Wilson Odobert. Is he French? The French genius at Burnley. But yeah, I guess that's my one objection to the correlating a fullback. I mean, if you already have Barco and Reguilon or Barco and Roberts, sure, okay, then you can do that in the utility spots. I'll object a little bit less, but yeah, I think that's the exact player pool. I really would like to play one of Trent or Robertson though. So if that means I have to take Pond Scum at forward, at least my Pond Scum is like Ivan Toney, who has good goal scoring odds and a decent role on that team.
Jack,
Adam,
specifically.
can I request one thing?
Hey, what do you
I
got?
request that the cover of this podcast be Wilson Odobert.
I can't change it.
Don't be Holland. Don't be anything. Just put Wilson Odobert on the cover because people are going to tune in and
Your
like,
face
I
is
can't
on the
believe
cover.
An hour. We've already talked 3 times about Wilson Odobert on Burnley.
I'm just going to pinpoint goal scorers. That's what we're here to do.
And you guarantee a goal.
Him or Foster, guaranteed goal.
Okay,
guaranteed goal.
I'd like to share a contrarian defender play for the people. Now, this is not a position where I want to really get too contrarian, but he's 5,200 I'm reading on Manchester City. Josko Gvardiol. He's gotten a lot of license to roam on the left wing. West Ham are going to defend pretty aggressively in this match, and he scored goals before. So if Jordan, is it okay to say, well, maybe I'll play, 2 Palace guys attack Tottenham, but I still want a piece of this Manchester City game. So I'm going to play Gvardiol because what would ruin the entire forward party is Gvardiol getting a goal, which he's shown that he can do. I think he has ceiling to keep up with someone like Pedro Porro, who's going to have a much better floor, even without set pieces. And I don't really want to get too contrarian at defender, but Gvardiol is one of those more expensive options where it actually seems reasonable.
Meh.
Cash games?
Meh.
No, I wouldn't play.
Fair
No,
enough.
you don't play Gvardiol in cash games.
No, not in cash games. Just a tournament.
Okay, tournaments. Yeah,
it's like Manchester
play who
City
you
win
want.
3-0, and Gvardiol scores one of the goals. I feel like that's going to ruin City stacks. I'm thinking about like this, Jordan. Like, there's going to be like Haaland, Foden, KDB in lineups, and I think that'll be like a pretty popular stack. Getting those 3 because it has such a huge implied goal total. That game ends 3-0. Gvardiol scores one of that goals. I feel like I'm levered pretty well against the field, and Gvardiol is someone who still has like an 8-point floor. It just doesn't seem like a terrible idea to me. But maybe I'm overthinking leverage in a 10-game slate where I can just play Porro. He's the best play.
I feel as if what you're doing, that meme with the like Vince McMahon, like the galaxy brain type of thing. Like the first, like I was just going through like what you were saying, and I'm like, okay, like the first thing is like play Erling Haaland. And it's like playing Erling Haaland is the first one because there's 4 steps. It's like play Erling Haaland. It's like play fade Erling Haaland and play Bernardo Silva is the second one. And the third one is like
play Rodri.
Play Liverpool.
Right. The set is like play
Kovacic.
Gvardiol and Rodri. And like the last one is like play Rico Lewis off the bench.
Oh,
right?
No.
Right, like something like that. Like you're getting.
I can't have Rico Lewis on this slate. One of the worst days in my DFS life. I don't think we should play min-priced Rico Lewis. Jordan plays, smashes. Oh, just makes me sick. I sometimes still lose sleep over.
Jack, specifically for defender, since you and Ryan already talked about it. So this TAA 7K Robertson 6,200. I think this is going to be a conversation for a lot of people entering the slate at defender. Just what are your thoughts here on deciding between the two? $800 difference. We have the Robertson, maybe he's not 100% kind of a thing. What are your thoughts on deciding on one over the other, I guess?
Yeah, I've never had Ryan Belangi that angry at me when I was suggesting that Robertson might be a slightly better value than TAA. Not a fan of the machine, I guess, but I don't know. I think it's flip a coin type of status. If I have the extra 800, I'm going to be happy to click TA. I'm going to be happy to click TAA and upgrade Andy Robertson. I just think that $800 does make a little bit of a difference, and Robertson has had a slightly better floor than TAA throughout the entire season, but it's a coin flip, Adam. I think like
And it's 800
TAA
bucks.
and it's $800. So it's like, whatever, if you're just going to say, Jack, you're an idiot, you can't slightly prefer Andy Robertson, I'm going to prefer TAA. It sounds completely reasonable. He's someone who takes direct free kicks. He takes some corners. He likes to shoot. He makes runs inside of the box. This is an extremely good play on this slate. So I think he's a great option if you prefer him to Andy Robertson. Good for you. I mean, Andy Robertson might be carrying a knock and might only play 65 minutes, and that's a risk that you have to take. I don't think we're seeing that sort of minutes risk lately from Trent, who's been playing 90 in most of his starts recently. I really do want to play one of them, though. Wolves are terrible. And again, I don't worry about the correlation at the defender position. And, TAA or Robertson could score over 20. I think in that case, you're going to want them at the defender position. What do you think, Jordan?
No, I'm with you.
Love it.
I'd love to play Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'd love to, or fine, Robertson. I'd love to be able to. It just really comes down to, I'm expecting that everything we're talking about right now, there's going to be some like $2,900 fullback or some $3,200. Some set piece taker is going to be out, and we're going to look at a lineup, and it's going to be like, when's the last time anyone on the field took set pieces? Like there's going to be something there. There's going to be a forward that's going to be 3,600 that you can punt with. Like, I just feel like I'm reacting to the slate like right now of like, do I pay for Trent Alexander? Do I even pay up for Cole Palmer? Right? It's going to be the type of thing where that you're going to look and it'd be like, well, this $6,300 guy, this $6,800 guy, the 2 7K forwards. I mean, like, and then you look and you're like, oh, I could play Trent. Like Barco's not in. Barco doesn't start. It's like, okay, well, that eliminates a spot. And like, do I play Trent or do I play Foden? Do I play? I mean, like, there's so much wiggle room on this slate. You could go down. You could play Gustav. You could play Hammer and Danilo, and lock in your 14 points total probably between the two, and then like hope that you get there with your Holland lineup or so. I mean, like, and your Trent Holland lineup. You could do that also, but I'm leaving myself with an open mind. I don't want to go into this slate and like an hour before be like, well, obviously the first guy in my lineup is Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then I just don't consider other constructions. So like, I don't know. I'm looking around. Like I feel like I need to be prioritizing midfield. Like Madison, like I at least it makes me comfortable inside of like, if I just get 2 quality midfielders, like there'll be enough goals on the slate that I'll randomly score a goal by someone in my lineup. And an assist or something, it'll happen frequently. And then all the mess of options, like we've mentioned a whole bucket of options, like maybe none of them are that high owned in cash that like any single one of them kills you. Like 22% own this guy, 28% own, 18% own. Like, so if you end up playing like some 4% own guy, you're like, oh, I'm the only one that played this guy in this $25 double up. Like, I don't even think it's that bad as long as you're playing the guy that's 80% owned, but most likely you're playing the guys that are 80% owned because they're the obvious value plays that everyone has.
That's what I tell myself, Jordan, when on a 2-gamer, I play Lewis Dunk and he's 4% in the double ups, and everyone prefers Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then Lewis Dunk gets off injured with a yellow card and a minus 1.5. But we have a much bigger slate. One defense of the expensive defenders, Jordan, is just maybe, and this is just a micro take. You talked about how do you stack Liverpool? Probably through the defender position where Robertson and Trent go off, and then you play Salah, who's the most reliable forward, but you could go anywhere you want with that. And then you could fit in Tottenham players. You'd be spending down at midfield, but you would be doing so in a stack that involved good value midfielders. And then, I don't know, you're just going to have to make the rest of the lineup work. Something like that seems really interesting to me. So I don't know. I see it both ways. You could play Barco Reguilon and just have a ton of ammo through the rest of your lineup. You never have to spend under 6K. Or you could just lean into the goal and assist upside. The Liverpool game environment is absolutely incredible. I mean, look at this. They're at home, 83% win odds, 2.8 implied goal total. It almost matches Manchester City. So, yeah, I don't know. Is that a long way of saying play whoever you want, Jordan?
Well, I mean, we mentioned all the guys,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm putting together my lineup right now. I'm gonna let's see what I'm doing here, because I gotta start with the goats in my lineup first, and then see where I go. I guess I could play Man City, right? I'll put through, right? I mean, it's very easy to just go through and play KDB and Foden, right? Why aren't I doing this, right? You could play this guy on the bottom. You have enough to play. Oh, yes, absolutely. Like, wouldn't you want to play a lineup, Jack, that has Cole Palmer, Kevin De Bruyne, and Phil Foden in it?
That
And
sounds a lot like
Reguilon
my
in it?
dummy lineup. Yeah, it
Right?
sounds pretty good.
Well,
You
all
just
have
can't
to do
afford that
is
expensive defender.
punt it forward twice and just put in. Who cares if it's a cash game? Odegaard and Foster in your forward spots. Dinky do it, and Adam is guaranteed that one of them will score. And if that's true, I'm paying 9,100 for at least a goal. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
and some floor points, so it's pretty good. I don't know if I can get there with Foden in cash games, but
I don't think he's a must. Truthfully, I don't think any forward's a must.
Well, like, he's not on set pieces, and Son is 1,500 cheaper. Why am I paying up for Foden when, like, Son is as likely to score?
You could do that.
'Cause he's
Jack,
elite.
would you consider in cash games that the only must is Madison?
Yes. I'm gonna say
Reguilon is probably close second.
Here, Jordan. I'm gonna do a Ryan Belangi. Yeah, I agree with you, but I think Foden is such a good play in this spot at 9,400, and he fills a forward spot. And he's a player with a floor. I don't know how the set pieces have worked out recently, but I know he can split some. And KDB might not play the whole game. I think Foden will. Foden feels like, I guess you just don't have to go there, but the role and game environment combination there for only 9,400, he's like 2,000 underpriced. He's a really good play. So I feel like,
yeah, but KDB is 2,000 underpriced too, and he has set pieces when on the pitch.
Like, KDB has the spaghetti hamstrings, and I can just play Cole Palmer, but point still stands in that area.
But I think here's the point, and I always say this to Ryan, is that take away the positional designations. Like, let's say Foden was midfield only. Would you be playing him over Cole Palmer?
I'd probably play Cole Palmer ahead of him.
Okay, so that's kind of the point of, like, he can't be that must if he was midfield only. When you have you're going to play Madison, you're going to play Palmer, you're going to play, I mean, like some of these other guys. Other than the fact that he's forward eligible, and we have to you're forced to play two forwards.
But that's an important part of the game. I guess it makes him not a must, right? But
right, because then Adam just said Son. Well, play Son for cheaper, and it's like, I'll play both. I think that's viable, and if I think that that's viable, that means the term must. Like, I feel like I'm likely to have Foden in my lineup in a forward spot, but if it doesn't work out that way, then
it's not a situation where Foden should be 100% in cash games. I think that's fair. It's not like, oh, you didn't play Foden, thanks for paying the rake. That's James Maddison is the only player with that designation. In that sense, I agree with you, but I think Foden is pretty elite in this spot nonetheless.
We haven't really talked about Erling Haaland here.
What's that to talk about?
How much are you guys playing him? He's 11.3K. He'll probably be, I don't know, what is this?
Plus 150 to score a brace on FanDuel Sportsbook. Sorry, DraftKings, but FanDuel is easier to navigate.
For like the main GPP, we'll say 30%. Is that
I wouldn't even worry. I wouldn't even worry about Haaland's ownership. I think you just say.
No, I'm just saying, like, how popular is it going to be? This guy who we haven't really talked about. Like, are you guys even considering playing him? I guess.
Yeah, I'll write in my article. I'm going to play him I think he's going to score. I have 25 lineups. I think he's going to score a brace 1/3 of the time. That's what the odds are roughly. I don't know. It seems pretty reasonable when you have minus 330 goal scoring odds, if that's anything close to efficient. And so in about a third of my lineups, I'll play some Haaland. There's plenty of cheap players that I'm willing to play. I'm out here talking about Gus Hammer and Ben Brereton. I think I can make it work. So I don't know. I think he's efficiently priced. You play him if you want. He could score a hat trick. It's just you do what sparks joy. And
Jordan, how many lineups are you doing? What sparks joy for you?
I'll probably do about 10. I think I'm going to do 10 lineups.
10. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna only have Haaland in Man City line. I mean, I'm not going to play Haaland by himself. I'm going to be playing. If Haaland scores 3 goals, it's coming from somewhere. I mean, like I want to get the points from who assisted and everything. So like
3 PKs.
Well, if that happens, then I'm screwed. Then who? I mean, obviously there are more probabilities that things happen where he's the only one that gets all the points. But likelihood, if you just look at his statistical distribution, that in the games where he's scoring hat tricks, like he's bringing along other people with him. So if other people are going to be playing Haaland as a one-off more often than they should, I'm not going to be playing it. And I see, like someone like Saka, on the other hand, like has so many other ways of getting there where Arsenal could be – it could be a 1-0 game. Saka scores the goal and still has 32 points. Right. So like those type of players are much more likely to play by themselves than like the pure goal scorers that someone pretty much, other than a million PKs, like someone has to be feeding him the ball.
No, that's also the Cole Palmer thesis. He gets about 2 penalties per game, always slaughtering me if I try to go elsewhere in tournaments. Jordan, is your stacking advice? We haven't talked about what contests you're playing. Like, I'm talking about playing this like $3,500 entry GPP, and I think these 3-2, 3-3 type of lineup constructions where you're playing, 2 games primarily. I think that's fine even in large field, because I just don't think people are going to paint the board with every single brace. I think that's very unlikely. And 3,500 is not that big. I play $3,500 single entry contests in freaking baseball. So, and I
I mean, because I'm not talking about stacking by playing 6 people. Yeah. Right. That's what people like you're saying. I want my lineup to primarily contain attackers from 2 teams. And then fill in the value from there and fill in whatever value from there. So if that's 2 per team or 3 per team, it is whatever. But I'm not like I'm not going to play Alexander Isaac as a one-off. And then I'm going to play Alex Pereira. And then I'm going to play Cody Gakpo in the like these just like mishmash type of lineups. It's like the totals are high enough. And we see in the last game of the season that like, you're going to find games. Maybe it's Burnley. Burnley could go out and good 6-0. I mean, I don't think it's absurd. I mean, it's not the team that I would attack on this slate, but it's much more. Those types of lopsided games are much more likely to happen on Sunday than on any other week of the year. So
any given Sunday.
And if I told you on any slate if I told you that I knew for sure, let's use the extreme example. Very extreme. Jack, I knew for sure that a team on the slate, all their starters would play 90. So we were just going to get rid of the option of like, well, maybe they sub out or something. If I told you one of these teams, all their starters would play 90 and they score 10 goals. If I told you nothing else other than that fact, wouldn't your goal to be like, I'm playing 5 guys from like every team on the slate and just like, one of them is going to be the winning lineup because like they're going to score 10 goals and I'm just going to play 20 lineups or whatever and then have 5 players from every one of the 20 teams.
My response to that is to hope that the 10-goal team is Crystal Palace, and then I will just play Olise and Eze and get 100 points in both lineup spots. It's a fair point, I think, what you're saying. Yeah, and I was just making sure that it wasn't only a small field strategy where sometimes we think about stacking as, a small field strategy. There's less things we have to get right? I think it's a large field strategy because we're looking for extreme outlier games that are actually plausible. So I just want to clarify
because it's a large slate, like if this was a 3-game slate, then that snacking is much more of a smaller field strategy and a larger field strategy because on a 3-game slate, we see sometimes on a 3-game slate, there's only 5 goals total. And it's like, Well, you need all 5. If you have all
And
5
you might
goals,
have to
you
paint
win.
the board. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right, before we go, we're about 70 minutes in here. I'm going to ask you guys.
Are you going to say, hold on, are you going to say that we haven't talked about Wilson Alderweireld enough?
No.
I mean, we're 70 minutes in and we have not mentioned him in 20 minutes. I think it's contractually
obligated. It's probably about 10 minutes ago. So I'm not going to say flag plant or a must play, but if you have like a favorite sub 6K player that we haven't really talked about on this show, just sub 6K, someone, it seems like almost, all these 10 game slates, there's always, and these winning lineups, you always see these players who are probably sub 10%, and they get their goal, they get to 20 points kind of thing. They're always in these winning lineups. So I know, Jordan, you're not big on favorite plays, but is there maybe someone standing out that you kind of your eye kind of stands out to you a little bit? I'll give mine here, and while you guys are thinking, but we haven't mentioned Matheus Cunha yet. Massive underdog at Liverpool.
Really?
5,400. Liverpool just give up goals. It's kind of what happens. Liverpool's back line isn't great. They give up the first goal many times, and he's only 5,400, went 90 minutes last game. Best goal scorer on Wolverhampton. I'll give someone else if that was Jack's option there, but
that was not my option. If you're gonna really hold a gun to my head with the 6K or under, I will mention Alexis McAllister. He's one of these kind of weird mid-priced midfielders. I think he's capable of hitting 25 points with 1 goal. It's a fantastic game environment. You can fit him in stacks if you like that sort of strategy because he's cheap. He's a nice correlation play that I like for Liverpool. So that's one recommendation. We didn't mention Pedro Porro a lot at 5,500. Doesn't really count because he's at defender, but he's a defender who I think is kind of particularly likely to score goals, and I don't really care that he doesn't have set pieces. And then if you want my dumpster play of the slate, just the worst take that I have, I've seen that he's only played 65 minutes in his last 2 starts, but I still want to pay 7K for Rodrigo Muniz, at least in a couple lineups. I can't help myself with these Fulham guys, and a Luton matchup is pretty favorable for Fulham. That's my horrible take, though.
Jordan, you come up with anything?
Yep, I got my horrible take.
What do we got?
I'm gonna go for a guy that plays 90 minutes. I think every game. And like we said before in my example, there's going to be a team that scores 10 goals on the slate. Why not be the team that has to score 10 goals on the slate and play Carlton Morris at 4,900 for Luton?
Okay. That is heinous. Bravo. 3 penalties for Carlton Morris.
Do you like Carlton Morris more than Adebayo?
They're both under 5K.
They're both under 5.
If
you're gonna play Foster and Odegaard, I'm gonna play Morris and Adebayo. So we could go to war together on that.
That one thing about this Luton Town team. So after Ross Barkley got hurt last week, they got smashed by West Ham, and Ross Barkley's out for this game. I think it's one of his first absences of the season. Jordan Clark may come on for him. So seems kind of worrying here that they fell apart without Ross Barkley. So that there you go, Rodrigo Muniz for Jack and Iwobi and whoever else.
Alex Iwobi, 5,500. It's wheels up. Fulham stack, baby.
The problem with Fulham is that all those guys have the chance of going 45 minutes. Because,
well, then your 4-man stack, you have Iwobi, Muniz, Pereira, and then Adama Traore off the bench. 10 fouls drawn. Boom. I think I nailed it.
There you go.
This is what happens when we do podcasts that are way too long. We get to the point where we're just like, we've mentioned everyone we possibly can, and now we're just like, what would be the funniest thing to happen on this slate? Yeah, let's play a lineup that looks like that.
I mean, I think there's still a lot of players to mention here, but there's just not enough time to mention all the players. That's all we got, though. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour trial to use this cheat sheet that we've been using on YouTube/Twitter. Make sure to give a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see what kind of content we have for the upcoming Euros. I'm sure we'll have some DFS content and whatever else, but we will be covering that a little bit. The Euros start in roughly a month from now. So we got a little small break. We also have Champions League final. We'll have showdown content for that. And then, of course, for this Sunday, we got betting content. We got DFS content. Jack's article will be up. We got a FanDuel article coming up as well. So it's been a interesting season for this show, for DFS, for DraftKings, that kind of gave up on releasing contests in 2024. So we'll see what the future looks like over at DraftKings. But thanks for jumping on, Jordan. You can find him at Blender HD on Twitter. Jack is at Jack Burkart. I am at Roto Zdroik. RotoWire Soccer is at RotoWire Soccer. Good luck to everyone. Good luck for the 150K to first in King of the Pitch. And then we just got the 20K to first in the main GPP. But a lot of money to be won. Maybe not a lot. Some money to be won in soccer GPPs on Sunday. Good luck to everyone. RotoWire.com/chat. Find us in the Discord if you have more questions. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jordan. See everyone. I'm going to be live in 2 hours from now talking betting. So if you're into betting, check out that show. Thanks, guys.
Job page on a GPP.